Hello everyone, my name is Jacob Cox and today I will be presenting on the case of Morgan versus the United States Soccer Federation. The case is filed in the Central District of California with a partial decision and will go to a jury trial. The facts of the case is that the women's national team has exhausted all internal avenues with the United States Soccer Federation and is bringing litigation against the USSF claiming violations of the Equal Pay Act and discrimination based on their sex. They are saying that they are receiving less pay than their male counterparts and also lesser working conditions and being discriminated against based on their sex. So violations of Title VII and the EPA. The issues here is there any evidence of a wage gap between the men and women players, and meaning a violation of the Equal Pay Act? And the female players claim that the male athletes are being paid to compete in friendly matches or exhibition matches, in which they aren't, which would be an equal opportunity. And lastly, the female players claim that they are being provided with lesser working conditions, cheaper flights, and hotel stays. Judge Klausner's holding is that he ruled there is no violation of equal pay when it comes to the male and female players' salaries. He does find evidence to support claims of unfair travel, which would be a violation of Title VII as far as discriminating based on sex. And he points to no evidence that the women's national team was excluded from the exhibition matches. They claim they are not receiving the same opportunity to earn bonuses in as the male counterparts. So let's get into the reasoning that informed Judge Klausner's decision. The ruling here is that the female players actually made more than the male players did between 2015 and 2019. Female athletes earned $24.5 million in comparison to the male athletes' $18.5 million. So there'd be no violation of Equal Pay Act here. But additionally, Judge Klausner says that there evidence that the women's national team rejected an offer from the USSF to be paid to participate in friendly matches in favor of retaining more of their guaranteed salaries and more contractable players. However, the USF spent significantly less money on the women's national team, hotel and airfare, with a $4 million discrepancy. So Judge Klausner's rulings were informed by Title VII in the Equal Pay Act, which he ruled there was no disparagement between the female and male teams' salaries, but there is evidence to support their claims of unfair travel conditions and working conditions. So let's move on to what a jury might decide. So the jury trial hasn't taken place yet and was scheduled for this summer, but has been pushed back into January. I'll speculate on what I think a jury might decide based on what we have, and I feel like a jury would probably concur with Judge Klausner's ruling that there's no evidence to support claims of unfair pay or unequal pay, but would probably look unfavorably at the defendant's representation's claim that the men's team was struggling and needed a competitive advantage, for the reasons that almost $4 million more was spent on the men's national team. I think that'll be looked on, or frowned upon rather, pretty unfavorably by the jury, and we may see a ruling favoring the women's national team here from the jury. So my opinion is that there's obviously no gap in pay, but there's also no evidence that the women's team is being excluded from any opportunities that the men's team are. Based on their collective bargaining agreement, they were offered the same pay for play deal that the men's national team was offered and declined it in favor of guaranteed salaries and more players, more contractable players. But I feel it's outrageous that so much more money was spent on the men's national team to the tune of almost $4 million for excuses of needing a competitive advantage. I think both teams deserve the same competitive advantage. That's the point. So I would agree with Judge Klausner's ruling, and definitely will be looking to the jury trial decision and wondering what they decide about the rest of it. So the only questions that I'm left with is I wonder if there's more that meets the eye here, that things that can't be measured through numerical values um, could be happening that are disparaging the women's national team in ways that we can't necessarily see. If they've come this far with litigation, with claims against the USSF, they definitely feel like they're being treated lesser than their male counterparts, and there is evidence to support that they are. And although their salaries don't speak to that, there could be things happening internally that may be something that uh, wouldn't be brought to light. For example, these airfare costs without litigation. So anyway, I agree with Judge Klausner's rulings, and thank you for your time. And this will conclude my presentation.